Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Glory Old World video. In today's episode, we shall be casting our ever critical eye over another Old World unit. And we shall be continuing to look at the core choices for the Empire of Man. Previously, we looked at the state troops, the professional full-time soldiers, but not everyone who fights for the Empire is part of the official military. There are innumerable irregular and militia forces available to the Empire, and the first one of those that we are going to be looking at is the Free Company Militia. And so, without further ado, let's summon the Elector Counts and charge right into today's episode. As is tradition, let us begin with a brief overview of what the hell this unit actually is. Free companies is a catch-all term used by the Empire to categorize the vast majority of the irregular troops that they can draw upon. Their quality can vary massively. They can be made up of peasants who have literally been taken from the fields, press ganged, conscripted into service, had weapons shoved into their hands and just used to bulk out the ranks. Not all free companies are press gang citizens though. Many can represent well-motivated militias, townsfolk that have come together and rallied to try and throw back a orc raiding mob or a roving band of beastmen. But free companies may not be made up of citizens at all. It may not be a levy or a militia. Rather, free companies can also represent sellswords, mercenaries who are fighting for the Empire for coin. But that's all well and good for the fluff. What about the crunch? How does all of this translate onto the tabletop? Well, to find out, let's dive into the unit entry, and we'll begin with a very human stat line. Each militia fighter has a movement of 4, which means they can march 8, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength 3, toughness 3, 1 wound, initiative 3, attacks 1, and leadership 6. This profile is pretty much the same as a lot of the other Empire core troops we've seen, such as your state missile troops and your regular state troops. The big difference, I suppose, is the fact that the militia fighters only have leadership 6, but you can upgrade one guy to be a militia leader. He has pretty much exactly the same profile, same movement, weapon skill, blah, blah, blah. But the big difference is he's got 2 attacks base and leadership 7. Now, each militia fighter does cost 6 points per model, which you might think is surprisingly high, considering your standard basic state troop only costs 5 points per model. But the difference is your state troops may start off cheap, but you end up stacking quite a lot of upgrades onto them. Your free company militia are 6 points, and they stay at 6 points. They come with all of the equipment that they need. We'll circle back round to the equipment in just a moment, but before I forget, let's go through some of the other important information for this unit. Their troop type is regular infantry, which means that their ranks can be disrupted if they're hit in the flank by a unit that has unit strength of 5 or more. Their base size is on the very standard 25 by 25 millimeter, and their unit size is 10 plus, unless you take them in a detachment, in which case it's 5 plus. We then come back to the equipment, and each Free Company militiaman is equipped with mixed weapons. This represents the huge variety and smorgasbord of weapons that these guys might have. Some Free Company may be armed with pitchforks and other farming implements, barely suitable for combat. Others may have well-worn, hand-me-down weapons that have been passed from father to son for generations. Maybe someone's dad or great-granddad was a state troop and was allowed to bring his sword home after he retired, and that has now been passed on, and the family takes that into battle whenever they need to defend their home. Other Free Company may have actually pretty good equipment. It might not be made to the military standards of the state troops, but you can imagine that most sellswords are going to have some half decent equipment if their life depends on it. Maybe even some exotic stuff like one-shot pistols and bits and bobs. Maybe they traded a dwarf for a half decent axe. The point is, there's a lot of different variety here, and GW has simplified this by saying that all Free Company count as having 2 hand weapons and throwing weapons. I really like that mixture of weapons because it allows the Free Company to put out a ridiculous amount of attacks. Sure, all of these attacks are going to be at strength 3, but the extra hand weapon means that each guy gets to do 2 attacks rather than 1. Now, I know what you're thinking, oh, Mordian, what's the big deal? Spearmen can fight in 2 ranks, and they're going to cost 6 points as well if you just went for the Spearmen on the basic state troops, and they're also going to have light armor. So why are you saying it's a ridiculous amount of attacks? It doesn't seem that many. It's not just the 2 hand weapons, it's the 2 hand weapons and the throwing weapons. See, throwing weapons have got a 9-inch range. Their strength is user, so strength 3 in this case, but they get multiple shots too, and they get move and shoot, and they get quick shot. All of these rules stack up into a really spicy meatball, and I think throwing weapons are a bit of a hidden gem. You see, multiple shots means you can do 1 shot and hit normally, or you can do 2 shots and incur a -1 hit penalty. Move and shoot means that you can, it's way better than it sounds. It allows you to march and still shoot. It really should be called march and shoot, because move and shoot means, it kind of implies that you only move sort of 4 inches and then shoot. No, it allows you to march and shoot. And quick shot means that you don't suffer the penalty for -1 to hit for moving and shooting. And you can also stand and shoot at any distance. Even if the enemy is like 2 inches away from you, it doesn't matter. You can still do it. So how I imagine Free Company are going to work is they're going to march up to the enemy. They're going to throw all of these weapons at them. Anything from little bows to just people picking up rocks, glass bottles, Molotovs, everything. They're going to march up to the enemy, throw all these bottles at them, and then when the enemy charges them, they throw them all again as part of a stand and shoot, and then when the enemy hits them, they get to fight with 2 attacks each. So there's loads and loads of just these strength 3 attacks being thrown onto the enemy unit, and before the enemies even had a chance to strike, they've been hidden by all these thrown weapons. And then when they find, which might thin their ranks out considerably depending on what it is, even medium infantry or sort of heavy infantry, something with like a 4-up save or a 5-up save like 2+4, even they are going to start having their ranks thinned out quite quickly by this barrage of just shite projectiles. And once they've been thinned down, they then charge in. They may not do the damage that they want, and then the Free Company just start shivving them. Just start, giving them the old rattly shank. Long story short, don't underestimate the Free Company. They may not have a high strength, but they can put out a real volume of attacks. They are, in my opinion, one of the best core blenders of light to medium infantry. If you regularly go up against either toughness 3 or even toughness 4, but with a bad armor save, these guys are for you. If you face down gobos, beastmen, orcs, or even other humans like Bretonnian peasants, then the Free Company will be able to do a surprising amount of damage to your opponent. But that covers the Free Company's weapons. What about some of their other equipment and options? Well, they only have 1 upgrade, and that's to make one of them a militia leader, which acts as a champion. Like we said before, that gives the attack and leadership bonus. That will cost you 7 points to do that. And that's it. Now, this does lead me on to the really big Achilles heel of Free Company, which is they don't have a save. They don't get armor. They don't get light armor, they don't get shields, they don't get one or the other, they don't get both, nothing. Only way you can give these guys any sort of save is by like a character joining them. For example, you could give them a ward save with Shield of Sigmar from a warrior priest, but that's only going to help them versus ranged attacks. Free Company are glass cannons. They're glass daggers, because whilst they can do some decent blending, they are going to get torn to shreds quickly. Even simple ranged weapons like short bows that every gobber and their mum has are going to start pincushioning these guys. And if someone gets the charge off on them first, which is likely to happen because they're just basic infantry, they are going to get mown down by the bucket load. But that's why they're only 6 points each. They are dirt cheap. You can take little detachments, big units of these, and they're not going to break the bank at all. But finally, let's cover off their special rules. Firstly, they have detachment, but not regimental unit. Now, don't panic. This doesn't mean that you can't take your Free Company in big blocks. Absolutely, you can do. It just means that big blocks of Free Company can't have their own detachments. For example, you couldn't take a block of 20 Free Company and then support them with a detachment of state missile troops. You could take the block of 20, you just couldn't take the detachment. By having the detachment rules themselves, though, it means that Free Company, even though they can't have their own detachments, can act as a detachment for another unit. So, for example, you could have a unit of 20 or 30, however sized, state spearmen, and then support them with some small 5-10 man detachments of Free Company Militia. In a nutshell, they can be detachments, but they can't have detachments. They're also a combination of a horde and open order. This is very nice and is another hidden gem of the Free Company, because it allows you to get almost all the benefits of close order with all of the benefits of open order. So close order, which is what your state troops have, allows you to get +2 to combat res for rank bonus. Open order means that you can only get +1, but horde lets you get another +1. So long story short, going around the houses, just boiling it down, open order with horde allows you to get the same rank bonus as close order. But because you're open order, it means that you get all of the movement benefits that come with that, like not being as disrupted by difficult ground. But wait, there's more, because they're also a warband. And warbands are a very good rule for Free Company. Unless it is fleeing, a warband gains a positive plus modifier to its leadership characteristic equal to its current rank bonus, up to a maximum of leadership 10. However, a warband cannot use this modifier to test its leadership should it ever choose to make a restraint test. In addition, if the majority of the models in a unit have the special rule, it may reroll its charge rolls. Side note, that unless a character also has a special rule, their leadership cannot be modified by the special rule. A warband can use either its own modified leadership or the leadership of a warband character, or the unmodified leadership of a non-warband character, whichever is higher. Basically, if your warband is allowing you to get leadership 10 and you've got a character that's joined it which is only like leadership 8, you don't have to use the character's leadership, you just use the leadership 10 for being a warband. Suddenly, out of nowhere, with the steel chair, the Free Company just became one of the stickiest, most tar pit units for the Empire. Because your state troops are only like leadership 7, these guys are gonna be leadership 10. And remember how the new old combat rules work, where if someone slams into you, and even if they kill a dozen Free Company, and you don't get like any attacks back, as long as you've got the ranks to take advantage of it, you're going to be like leadership 9, leadership 10, and suddenly it goes, oh, well, I've got to make my break test. Even if I fail the modified leadership, all that's going to happen is my Free Company are going to fall back in good order. Because on leadership 10. I'm not saying it's impossible, but they're unlikely to roll like an 11 or a 12. You might think this unit can't get any better, but you would be wrong. Wrong, I tell you. Because the Free Company, by some messed up interaction of the rules, actually get to turn the special rule levies from a disadvantage to an advantage. So levies normally can't benefit from your general's inspiring presence, and they can't benefit from the stand your ground of the battle standard bearer. But when they flee, they don't cause panic. No one really expects much from them. They're just levies after all. Now, normally this would be a big problem because you see like a Leadership 6, Leadership 7 unit like Free Company, you think, bugger, really going to need that general's leadership. But then you realize that Warband means that these guys could be rocking around Leadership 9 or 10 anyway without any help. And so that side, the leadership side of levies, isn't even a factor. So all this means is that, oh, Free Company don't cause panic. Which is brilliant! Because you, with a relatively middling leadership army like Empire, having one unit getting smashed and panic start ripping through the army can be a problem. But having Free Company just get obliterated, no one gives a damn. It's unlikely they're going to get run down because of the potential for such a high leadership from the unit. But even if it does go sideways, it's fine. It's not a problem. So Free Company are very sticky, and they also don't cause panic in your army. They're just they're so good. Now there is one last special rule, which is probably just like a straight up like downside, which is impetuous. This rule means that during the declare charge or charge reactions subphase, if they can charge, you have to roll a dice. On a 1 to 3, they have to charge. They have to make that charge effort, whether you want them to or not. On a 4+, they act as normal. This can mean that your Free Company might go barreling off on their own and just cause the whole line and formation to start getting disrupted and disjointed. It's not a great rule because you don't. It's unlike Frenzy, where sometimes you have to like charge stuff, but you get +1 attack. These guys don't get the +1 attack. It's literally the downside of Frenzy with none of the positives. The kind of messed up good thing about Impetuous, though, is it pairs well with Warband. And you might think, why? Well, there's a second bit to Warband, which is if the majority of the models in a unit have the Warband special rule, so obviously all your Free Company, then you get to re-roll charges. So if you fail the charge, if you fail the restraint, I should say, on the Impetuous test, and you might have to make a long bomb charge that you really don't want to, well, on the plus side is you've got a good chance of making that charge. So they might go shooting off death or glory, going in the first wave, getting themselves killed. But on the plus side, if they do, at least they should get the initiative bonus and shouldn't just stumble forward a few inches. And hey, if they do go running off and getting themselves all killed, at least they're not going to cause panic because they're levies, right? It's kind of messed up, but it kind of works. Overall, I like Free Company. I think they're a great unit. Veteran players may have prejudged them because in the past they weren't decent, but they've had a big glow up and they put out a lot of attacks and they can be very sticky indeed. They do have two big problems. No armor means they are going to just get mown down, and the fact that they are impetuous could cause your best laid plans to go up in smoke. But I think those two problems more than make up the fact that they can bulk out your ranks quite nicely and you can use them in a number of specialized ways, especially with them being a half decent cheap tar pit. But all of this is like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Are you pro Free Company? Are you no Free Company? And if so, what are we thinking? Detachments, big blocks? How are you planning on running your militia? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, and they have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a big shout out to Bon Bon Vert, Mad Larkin, Marcus Roberts, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Varney. Thank you guys so much. Your incredible generosity is a massive part of how I'm able to do Mordian Glory full time, and it is a big driving force behind the channel. But I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.